The fluorescent lights of the classroom hummed overhead, casting a sterile glow on the rows of bowed heads. The air was thick with the scent of ink and anxiety, the scratch of pens on paper a constant, nervous rhythm. On the blackboard, in the upper right corner, the countdown was scrawled in red chalk, 107 days. The numbers looked like a row of bloody nails, hammered into my vision. My hand trembled as it slipped into my pocket, fingers brushing against the familiar, cold plastic of my pillbox. A wave of dizziness washed over me, the familiar, crushing weight of depression settling onto my chest like a stone. I needed my medication, I needed it now. I had just pulled it out, the small, white box of fragile lifeline in my palm, when a shadow fell over me. A hand, swift and decisive, snatched it from my grasp. Eating during evening self-study, points deducted. The voice was familiar, laced with a casual authority that made my blood run cold. Pay due, my desk mate, my childhood friend, the class monitor. He held my pillbox aloft, a faint smirk playing on his lips. That's my medicine, I whispered, my voice a dry rasp. Give it back. He didn't even look at me, he just shook his head, that same, infuriatingly condescending expression he always wore. You're just being too sensitive, thinking too much. I've never heard of the older generation having depression. You're the only one with so many problems. He tossed a stack of practice papers onto my desk. Just do more problems. Keep yourself busy, you'll be fine. I stared at the papers, the equations blurring before my eyes. A cold, hollow feeling spread from my chest. In my past life, I had believed him. I had tried to drown myself in the endless tide of math problems, to silence the screaming in my head with the scratch of a pen. I had failed so completely that I had climbed to the roof of the teaching building, the cold night air biting at my skin, and I had jumped. The memory of the fall, the sickening rush of air, the final, shattering impact, it was a phantom pain that lived in my bones. And now, I was back, right back to this moment, the moment he reached for my pillbox. This time, I was not going to be silent. Pay due. My voice was low, but it cut through the ambient noise of the classroom. He was turning away, my pillbox in his hand, already reaching for the teacher's podium. Pay due. My voice cracked, rising into a shriek. Give it back. He paused, a flicker of annoyance crossing his face. Sully, calm down. I'm just holding onto it for now, holding onto it. The words echoed in my skull, a cruel mockery. He had said the same thing last time. He had put my medicine in the podium drawer, like he was confiscating a packet of stolen candy, and then, he had given it to someone else. A memory, sharp and jagged, cut through the haze, a pink sticky note, peeking out from his pocket, a delicate, feminine script. I forgot my medicine today. I can't hold on, please help me. By Roy's handwriting, the class beauty, the girl who sat by the window, whose seat was now empty. Horrifying, crystalline understanding dawned on me. He wasn't just being a self-righteous hall monitor, he wasn't just trying to fix me, he was stealing my medicine for her. My vision swam, a hysterical laugh, raw and broken, tore from my throat. By Roy forgot her medicine, so you steal mine. My medicine is something you can just give away, my life is something you can use as a bargaining chip. The classroom erupted, heads snapped up, whispers turning into a roar. Paydue's face went white. What are you talking about? He reached for me. I flinched back as if burned. I grabbed the stack of papers he had given me and hurled them at his face. Don't touch me. Give me back my medicine. Give it back. I couldn't hear the shouts of the other students anymore. My world had shrunk to a single point. The pillbox in his pocket, the terror of that empty hand, the memory of the fall, the crushing weight of his betrayal. It all collapsed into a single, primal scream. I lunged for the podium, snatching the class discipline logbook, the blue book, filled with petty violations. Who drank water, who looked up, who took too long in the bathroom. I threw it to the ground and stomped on it, tears and laughter mixing into a grotesque symphony. Deduct points for taking medicine. Deduct points for having a breakdown. Do you deduct points for dying too? Silence. Pay dues. Bravado finally crumbled. Sully, calm down, I'll take you to the infirmary. Give me back my medicine first. I screamed. He didn't. He shoved the pillbox deeper into his pocket. That action shattered the last shard of my sanity. I lunged at him, clawing at his arm. He grabbed my wrist, pushing me back. Sully, you can't just take it in this state. I said I'll hold onto it for you. His words were just noise. All I understood was the denial. A violent tremor seized my body, not just my hands, but my entire being. My chest felt like it was being crushed in a vice, my throat closing up. I could only repeat, over and over, a broken mantra. mine, give it back, don't take it, I won't jump. The last 3 words fell into the room like ice water. Someone gasped, someone ran for the door. Peidu's face finally, truly, changed. He reached out to steady me. Suli, I grabbed my pencil case from the floor and hurled it at him. Don't touch me, the thief who stole my medicine, don't touch me. The back door creaked open. Roy, pale and red-eyed, was being supported by her desk mate. She took one look at the chaos, at me pointing at Peidu's pocket, and her lips trembled. Suli, I stumbled backward. Don't come near me, you too, this is my medicine, not yours. I sank to the floor, hugging my knees. The images were flooding back, the rooftop from my past life, the wind, the darkness. Peidu's cold voice telling the class to keep writing, the students whispering and laughing. Roy sobbing at my memorial service, past and present were a blur. All I knew was that if the medicine didn't return to my hand, I would die again. Peidu turned to the class. Don't film this, she's in an unstable state. I was just confiscating a banned item according to the rules. Banned item, those 2 words kicked me back into hell. With a shriek, I lunged, grabbing at his pocket. He tried to pry my fingers loose. In the struggle, the pillbox fell to the floor, the lid popped open, pills scattered everywhere, and then, another strip of pills, still sealed in its silver foil, slid out from his other pocket. It gleamed under the fluorescent light, impossibly bright. The classroom went dead silent, because everyone could see it now. He hadn't just wanted to hold on to it. The room spun, the fluorescent lights above flickered like they were mocking me. He had already taken a whole strip from my pill box. I dropped to my knees like a madwoman, scrambling to gather the scattered pills into my arms, my hands shaking so violently I could barely grip them. Mine, I gasped, my voice cracking. They're all mine, you can't take them, you can't give them to anyone else. Roy crouched down beside me, tears streaming down her face. Suli, I'm sorry, I didn't know it would be like this. I lifted my head to look at her, my eyes burning with a pain that went deeper than the surface. Didn't know. The words came out in broken fragments. You didn't know when you wrote that note. You didn't know when you asked him to help you. Each sentence was a struggle, my breath catching in my throat. By the end, I was gasping, my chest heaving as if I'd been running for miles. I hugged the pill box tighter against my body, pressing it into my ribs like it was the only thing keeping me tethered to this world. Anyone who came close, I screamed, a raw, animal sound that echoed off the classroom walls. My desk mate, Tang Ying, bolted out of the classroom, shouting for the teacher. Someone else ran to call the school nurse. From the back of the room, I heard a low murmur. She's not really going to jump, is she? I heard it, every word. I lifted my head again, tears streaming down my face, soaking my collar. I'm not jumping, I said, my voice trembling but clear. I'm not jumping this time. I need to take my medicine. I want to live. My phone slipped from my pocket and clattered to the floor. The screen lit up, and I saw it. The pinned contact at the top. Mom. I don't know where I found the strength, but I pressed the voice message button and held it down. Mom, my voice was barely a whisper. Come to school. Peidu took my medicine. I'm scared. I don't want to die. After I sent the voice message, I collapsed onto the floor like a puppet with its strings cut. The pill box was pressed against my chest, and I held it with a death grip, like it was the last rope before the fall. 3. When homeroom teacher Tao Lan burst into the classroom, the first thing she saw was the floor covered in scattered papers. The second thing she saw was the red handprint on Peidu's face. Only then did she notice me, curled up by the podium. She frowned. Suli, what's wrong with you now? That single word, now, sent a chill through my entire body. I clutched the pill box, my teeth chattering uncontrollably. He took my. Tao Lan turned to Peidu. He spoke immediately, his voice steady and practiced. Teacher, she was eating something during evening self-study. I temporarily confiscated it according to class rules. Then she suddenly lost control, hit me, and overturned the desk. He said it so smoothly. He'd always been like that, ever since we were kids. No matter what he did wrong, he could twist the words until he sounded like the victim. Tao Lan's face darkened. Suli, you're in your senior year. Can you stop disrupting everyone? I looked up at her, my vision swimming. I wanted to say it wasn't food. It was medicine. I wanted to say Peidu had taken it and given a strip to Roy, but all that came out of my throat were broken sobs. Roy stood by the back door and suddenly spoke, her voice small and hesitant. Teacher, I wasn't feeling well today, and I forgot to bring my medicine. I mentioned it to Peidu. I didn't expect him to take Su Li's. Tao Lan's face stiffened. Pei Du whirled around. By Rui. His voice was urgent, almost desperate, like he was afraid she'd say more. That's when school Dr. Song arrived. She carried a medical bag and crouched down in front of me. She didn't touch me. Instead, she softened her voice to barely above a whisper. Su Li, I'm Dr. Song. I'm not going to take your medicine. Could you show me the box? I'll help you confirm how to take it, okay? I stared at her hand. Her palm was open, no grabbing, no pressing down, no raised fist. Slowly, I pushed the pill box toward her, but my fingers still clung to the edge, refusing to let go. Dr. Song didn't rush me. She examined the label over my hand, then looked at the pills scattered on the floor. Her expression grew darker by the second. Who opened her pill box? No one answered. Bai Rui was crying now. Pei Du gave me a strip. I haven't taken it yet. Dr. Song's head snapped up. Good thing you didn't. She turned to Tao Lan. Teacher Tao, these pills are Su Li's prescribed medication. They're not snacks, not comic books, not something a class monitor can confiscate, and certainly not something to give to another student. Tao Lan's lips moved, but the words came out weak. I know Su Li has a file, but Pei Du might not have known. I screamed, a raw, guttural sound that tore from my chest. He knew, he knows, he went to the hospital with me. He said I was faking. He said I just needed to do my homework and I'd be fine. The more I spoke, the more the voices from my past life surged back. Keep writing, stop pretending, we're all tired, the class monitor is just trying to help. I covered my ears, curling into a ball on the floor. Don't write, I won't jump, Mom. The sound of hurried footsteps echoed from the hallway. My mother burst into the classroom. She saw me, saw the pills on the floor, saw the strip in Pei Du's hand. Her face went white as paper. Lily, she knelt down and wrapped her arms around me. The familiar scent of her filled my nose, and I finally let myself sob. Mom, he took my medicine. He wouldn't give it back. He said I was faking. My mother held me tight, then lifted her head to look at Tao Lan and Pei Du. Her eyes were cold as knives. Call the police. Tao Lan's face changed. Su Li's mother, there might be a misunderstanding between the children. Let's not make a big deal out of this. My mother didn't even acknowledge her. Seal the surveillance footage, the classroom, the hallway, the medical room, anyone who touched my daughter's medicine. No one gets to brush this off with a misunderstanding. Pei Du's face finally lost its composure. My mother pointed at him, her voice measured and sharp. Especially you. You'd better pray my daughter is safe tonight, for, by the time I was taken to the hospital, it was almost 10 o'clock. The doctor finished my examination and told me to rest. I lay in the hospital bed, but my hands were still trembling. The pill box sat on the pillow beside me. I had to see it every time I looked up. If I couldn't see it, I'd panic. The doctor spoke to my mother. She already has depression. She was already feeling unwell at the time. Then someone took her medication and publicly provoked her. Of course she'd break down. From now on, no one unrelated should be allowed to touch her medicine. I closed my eyes, tears sliding down my temples. In my past life, I died without ever hearing those words. I wasn't faking, I wasn't being dramatic. My medicine couldn't be taken away. Tao Lan, Pei Du, and Bai Rui came to the hospital later. Grade Director Qin Zhao followed behind them, his face grim. As soon as he entered the room, he asked the doctor first, "How is the student?" The doctor frowned. "She's stabilized for now. But she can't take any more stress. Let me be clear, this isn't a simple disciplinary issue or a minor student conflict. The direct cause was the confiscation of a prescribed medication." Qin Zhao glanced at Pei Du. Pei Du kept his head down, the red handprint still visible on his face. He spoke in a low voice. "Auntie, I really didn't mean to. I was just trying to help Bai Rui. I didn't know Su Li would react like this." My mother stared at him, her voice cold as ice. "React like this? You took her prescribed medication, gave it to someone else, and publicly humiliated her in front of the whole class, and you're surprised she reacted?" I sat in the hospital bed, gripping the edge of the blanket so hard my knuckles turned white. My body was exhausted, every muscle aching from the chaos of the night before, but inside my chest, something was different. For the first time since I woke up in this life, I felt a strange, quiet sense of relief, like the ground beneath me was finally solid. In my previous life, everyone had said the same thing. I was stressed, I was overthinking, I couldn't handle the pressure, they blamed me for everything. But now, in this life, the moment when Pei Du's hand reached for my pill box had been seen by everyone. The truth was out there, captured in the cold light of the hospital room. Chapter 5. The next day, I was still in the hospital. I hadn't even been discharged yet, but the class group chat had already exploded. Tang Ying sent me screenshots, her fingers trembling as she typed. Pei-du had posted in the group, "Everyone, please don't spread what happened last night. Suli isn't in a good state right now, and I don't want to trigger her further. Senior year is precious, so let's not let this affect our studies." On the surface, it sounded like he was protecting me, but every single word was a carefully aimed dagger, telling the world the same old story. Suli is crazy. Soon, the replies came flooding in. "She really scared the hell out of us last night. The class monitor got slapped. Poor guy. If she's sick, she should just stay home and rest. Don't drag the rest of us down." Bai Rui was feeling unwell too, but she didn't flip a table. I stared at the screen, my palms slowly growing damp with sweat. In my previous life, these were the words I feared most. I was terrified of being isolated, terrified of being a burden, terrified of everyone hating me. So I endured. I swallowed everything. I endured until I couldn't endure anymore, until I disappeared completely. But this time, I didn't reply to the group. I saved every screenshot, every single one. I sent them to my mom. Not long after, Bai Rui posted on her moments. The photo showed her sitting in the hospital hallway, her eyes red and swollen. The caption read, "I guess even two people who are hurting can hurt each other." Beneath it, a flood of comments. "Hug you, Rui. You're so strong. Just because someone has a disease doesn't give them the right to hurt others." My mom saw it. Her hands were shaking with anger. "She stole your medicine, and she's saying you hurt her." I looked at her, my voice steady. "Mom, save it. Don't respond. Let them talk. The more they say, the more evidence we have." Later that afternoon, Tao Lan came to the ward with Pei-du and Bai Rui. She said it was a visit, but the moment I saw the folder in her hand, I knew she wasn't here to see me. She was here to shut me up. She placed a piece of paper on the bedside table, her voice as sweet as syrup. "Suli, the teacher knows you were triggered last night, but the college entrance exam is coming up, and we can't let this keep affecting you. Let's write a statement, show some mutual understanding, and move on. It'll all be over." I picked up the paper. It was titled, "Student Emotional Self-Management Commitment Letter, Clause 1. I admit that my behavior last night was due to personal emotional instability." Clause 2. Pei-du was only fulfilling his duties as class monitor. Clause 3. I voluntarily hand over my personal medication to the homeroom teacher for safekeeping. Clause 4. When I need to take my medication, I must first apply to the teacher. Clause 5. I will not spread related videos or comments. The last clause was the most painful. I promised to reduce my dependence on medication through diligent study and a regular routine. I laughed. I laughed until tears came to my eyes. In my previous life, it was the same words. Just study harder, don't rely on medicine, don't think too much, everyone is tired. I slowly tore the paper apart. Tao Lan's face changed instantly. "Suli, what are you doing?" I tore it piece by piece. The shreds fell onto the blanket like snowflakes. Pei-du frowned at me. "Suli, I already apologized. I didn't mean to do it. You hit me last night, and I didn't say anything." I looked up at him. "Of course you have no right to say anything. You stole my medicine, you made me lose control, you pushed me into the water, and then you blamed me for getting wet." Dr. Song walked in just then. She picked up a piece of paper from the floor, read it, and her face darkened. "Who wrote this?" Tao Lan forced a smile. "We were just trying to help the child adjust. We didn't want her to rely too much on the medication." Dr. Song cut her off. "How she takes her medicine is between her and her doctor, not her homeroom teacher, not her class monitor." My mom gathered the shreds into a bag. "This commitment letter will be handed over to the police and the education bureau." Pei-du's face turned pale. "Auntie, is that really necessary?" My mom's voice was cold. "When you stole her medicine, did you ask if that was necessary?" Chapter 6. The surveillance footage was retrieved on the third day. In the grade-level meeting room, the projector flickered to life. I sat next to my mom. Pei-du sat across from us. Bai Rui and her mother were there too. Tao Lan had her head down. Qin Zhao's face was ashen. Two police officers sat beside them, taking notes. At 7:20 p.m., the hallway camera showed Bai Rui stopping Pei-du. She handed him a pink sticky note. There was no sound, but her actions were clear. She clutched her chest, lowered her head, and tears streamed down her face. Pei-du read the note, then immediately looked toward the classroom. At 7:25 p.m., he returned to the classroom. He didn't go to his own seat. Instead, he He looked directly at my bag. At 7:31 p.m., I took out my pill box. At 7:32 p.m., Peidu walked to my desk and pressed his hand down on the box. I clearly tried to pull it back. He yanked it away from me. The projection showed me frozen for a single second. Then my entire body lunged forward. The conference room was silent. 7:34. Peidu walked to the edge of the podium, his back to the classroom, and opened the pill box. He slid out a strip of medication and stuffed it into his own pocket. 7:38. Roy returned through the back door. Peidu handed her that strip of pills. She took it, glanced at the packaging, hesitated for a few seconds, and finally clenched it in her hand. She did not give it back to me. Under the table, my mother tightened her grip on my hand. The police officer pulled up the chat logs again. Peidu had sent by Roy. Don't worry, I'll help you figure something out. Suli also has medication. She can miss one dose. It should be fine. You need it more right now. And then there was his chat with another class monitor. Suli is just too fragile. She always uses depression as an excuse. I've known her since we were kids. I can handle her. We can't let her ruin the atmosphere during evening study sessions. Every single line of text hit him like a slap across his own face. Dr. Song stood to the side, his voice cold as ice. You knew exactly what those pills were. You also saw how terrified she was. You knew she needed them, and you still took them away. Peidu's lips trembled. I just wanted to save Roy. I turned to look at him. So I'm the one who can be abandoned. He froze. She cried. And you thought she was worth saving. I cried. And you thought I was faking it. She forgot her medication. So you stole mine to give to her. I had a breakdown, and you said I was disrupting discipline. Roy suddenly burst into tears. Suli, I'm sorry. I was really scared that day. I didn't mean to hurt you. I stared at her. You knew those weren't your pills. Her crying hitched. You knew Peidu was taking them from me. Her face turned even paler. And you knew that I was sick, just like you. She hesitated. But you still took them. The conference room fell into a silence so heavy it was suffocating. Roy's mother tried to say something, but a single look from the police officer shut her up. Pain is not a free pass. Being pitiful is not an excuse to steal someone else's lifeline. Qin Zhao flipped through the materials in his hands, his expression growing darker by the second. He turned to Tao Lan. Did you know about Su Li's medication records? Tao Lan lowered her voice. Yes. Did Peidu, as class monitor? No. Tao Lan was silent. I answered for her. He knew. He went to the hospital with me. He knew I was on medication. Peidu bowed his head. This time, he could no longer say it was a misunderstanding. 7. Peidu's position as class monitor was suspended. His nomination for outstanding student leader was also revoked. When the news spread back to the class, the winds shifted quickly. Those who had called me crazy in the group chat started sending private apologies. Suli, I'm sorry. I didn't know the monitor actually took your medication. I shouldn't have filmed that video that day. I thought you were just stressed and throwing a tantrum. Roy's Moments posts really set the tone. I didn't reply to a single one. Some apologies aren't belated conscience. They're just people realizing they backed the wrong side and trying to save themselves. On the fourth day, I returned to school for a follow-up interview. Outside the grade-level office, Peidu was waiting for me. The moment he saw me, his eyes turned red. Then, in front of everyone in the hallway, he dropped to his knees. Suli, we grew up together. Are you really going to destroy me? I stood still. When we were kids, Peidu chased away stray dogs in the alley for me. In middle school, he helped me with math problems. After my first depression diagnosis, he went to the hospital with me once. That day, the doctor said, understanding from those around you was crucial. Peidu sat beside me, nodding more earnestly than anyone else. Later, he was also the first person to call me dramatic. People are strange. He was willing to be a protector in the sunlight, but when I was truly falling, he refused to admit I needed someone to pull me up. Peidu pulled a letter out of his backpack. This is my apology letter. I admit I was wrong, but back then, I only wanted to help Roy. Can't you let this go, for the sake of all these years? I didn't take it. He unfolded it himself. The front was an apology. The real content was in the back. On the evening in question, student Suli experienced a sudden loss of emotional control due to personal reasons, causing disruption to student Peidu. Peidu's taking of the medication was a misunderstanding. Roy's acceptance of the medication was an emergency mutual aid between classmates. Both parties agree to mutual understanding and will not escalate the matter further. I laughed. You kneel so low, but your heart is still so dirty. Peidu's face went white. Suli, I've already been suspended. if this investigation goes any further, my record is ruined. I'm 18 now. Do you know this will affect my entire life? I looked down at him. You've already affected my entire previous life. He froze. I didn't explain. I picked up that so-called apology letter and slapped it across his face. Didn't you say I was crazy? Then remember this, someone who's been crazy once won't sign your settlement. Peidu couldn't keep up the act anymore. He knelt there, his eyes slowly turning dark. Su Li, do you have to be this ruthless? Yes, I took your medication, but you hit me too. Why is it all my fault? At the end of the hallway, Qin Zhao and the police officer stepped out. Qin Zhao's face darkened. Peidu, don't you get it yet? Why? Su Li broke down. The surveillance footage shows it clearly. The police officer added, her loss of control at that moment was a direct result of you taking her medication. You can't blame her for the consequences of your own actions. Peidu knelt on the ground, his face ashen. I looked at him and felt no satisfaction, only exhaustion. In my past life, I used my own death to prove I wasn't faking it. In this life, I no longer had to. The surveillance footage proved it, the pillbox proved it, and the hand he reached out to take my medication, that proved it too. 8. I thought Peidu would stop, but he didn't. At 9 o'clock that night, a notification suddenly appeared in the class group chat. The account that posted it was Tao Lan's. To ensure the order of evening study sessions and student medication safety, starting today, all students' personal medications must be handed over to the class monitors for registration and safekeeping. If you need to take medication during evening study, you must obtain it after confirmation from the class monitor and the academic monitor. Below it was attached a form, Student Psychological Conditions Self-Management Form, Name, Condition, Medication Name, Daily Dosage, Symptoms when unwell, Parent Contact Number, Willingness to accept peer supervision, Commitment to reduce medication dependency. The group chat was silent at first. Soon, someone asked, Teacher, do we have to hand in stomach medicine too? Can I keep my allergy medication myself? Is this form for the class monitors to see? Do we have to write down our psychological conditions too? A few minutes later, Lin Che from the back row privately messaged me. He usually slept on his desk all the time, and the teacher called him lazy. He said, Su Li, I'm also on medication. I don't want the class to know. Another girl sent me a message too. My mom doesn't even know I've secretly seen a doctor. Will they pass this form around? I stared at that form, my fingertips growing cold bit by bit. Peidu was trying to whitewash his theft of my medication into a system. As long as the whole class handed in their meds, that night he wasn't just taking mine without permission, he was just implementing management ahead of time. As long as every sick person filled out the form, I wouldn't be the victim anymore. I'd be the first one who refused to cooperate. I immediately took a screenshot, recorded the screen, sent the notification and the form to my mom, Qin Zhao, Dr. Song, the police officer, and the Education Bureau complaint platform. 10 minutes later, Qin Zhao called me. His voice was barely holding back anger. Su Li, this isn't an official school notice. Don't reply in the group chat, just save the evidence first, I said. The notice was sent from Teacher Tao's account. Qin Zhao was silent for a few seconds. I'll check it out right now. Half an hour later, the grade office was in chaos. Tao Lan's voice was frantic on the phone, completely changed. I didn't send it. I just mentioned during the day that students' meds shouldn't be left lying around, and teachers should keep track. I didn't ask the class monitors to register anything, let alone have students fill in their illness names. The IT teacher checked the back end. The result came back quickly. The notice was sent from Tao Lan's office computer. Time, 8:56 p.m. Office surveillance showed Peidu went in at 8:47. He said he was delivering test papers for the teacher. He left at 9:00 sharp. At 9:01, the class group notification was sent. Tao Lan's face went pale with rage. Peidu, you used my account to send a notice. Peidu stood in the hallway, his face dark as iron. Teacher, I was just filling in the process. Everyone's watching that night now. As long as the class has a unified rule, it proves I wasn't acting out of line. Didn't you also say meds need to be managed? Dr. Song arrived just in time to hear that. She let out a bitter laugh. I said the school should protect students taking their meds on time, not that you should spread your classmates' illnesses out for the monitors to see. Peidu tried to argue further. What's wrong with strict management in senior year? What if someone takes the wrong meds? I walked over from the stairwell. When he saw me, his gaze turned instantly dark and cold. I raised my phone. When you grabbed my meds, you weren't afraid of anything going wrong. When you handed them to Bai Rui, You weren't afraid either, now you're scared, because the punishment has landed on you. Pei-du, you're not being responsible. You're just trying to drag everyone down with you. The Education Bureau intervened quickly, because that form had ripped open all the problems the school had been hiding. The evening study sessions in the elite class had long stopped being about learning, they were more like imprisonment. Drinking water required registration, going to the bathroom was timed, visiting the school clinic needed a class monitor's approval. Anyone who rested their head on the desk for more than 3 minutes got their name recorded in the discipline book. Anyone who left their seat during evening study lost points for the class. Points affected the mobile red flag, affected the outstanding class collective, and also affected the homeroom teacher's evaluation. So many people endured their illnesses. Stomachaches were endured, headaches were endured. When their hearts were so heavy they could barely hold on, they still endured, because whoever spoke up was the one dragging the class down. I was the first person forced to flip the table the day the investigation team arrived. The entire senior high building was very quiet. Qin Zhao led the team to seal off the surveillance footage. The IT teacher exported the class group records. Dr. Song provided my medical file. My mom submitted the police report receipt, hospital records, photos of the torn promise letter, and screenshots of Pei-du's forged notice. Tao Lan was suspended from teaching for questioning. She sat in the meeting room, her face ashen. I was just afraid the class would get chaotic. It's senior year. Nothing can go wrong, the Education Bureau person asked her. Afraid of chaos, so you had class monitors manage students' meds. Afraid of chaos, so your first reaction when something happened was to make a student sign a promise letter. Afraid of chaos, so you nearly collected the medical conditions of the entire class. Tao Lan lowered her head. She couldn't say a single word. When Pei-du was taken away by the police for questioning, he was still looking at Bai Rui, but Bai Rui wasn't looking at him. Her mother stood in front of her, repeatedly saying, "Our Rui is also a victim. She didn't take the meds at the time. There were no serious consequences." I looked at Bai Rui. She was crying, her eyes swollen. "Su Li, I'm sorry, I was too scared that day. I just wanted someone to help me," I said. "I was scared too." She froze. "When my meds were taken away, I was even more scared than you. You, more than anyone, should know that you can't just take someone else's meds. But you still let Pei-du take mine." Bai Rui lowered her head and couldn't cry anymore. The final outcome came quickly. Pei-du was already 18, he had taken my meds, planned to give them to someone else, caused me to break down on the spot, then forged the homeroom teacher's account to send a notice and privately collected classmates' private information. He was dealt with by the police according to the law. The school revoked all his student leadership positions, cancelled his eligibility for honors, and gave him a serious disciplinary punishment. Later, his family arranged for him to transfer schools. Bai Rui, knowing the meds were improperly obtained but still accepting them and later directing public opinion, was given a demerit by the school. Tao Lan, for management negligence, attempting to suppress the incident, and illegally making a student sign a promise letter, was suspended from her position for review. The school issued a new official notice. Student medications were not to be handled by class monitors. Registered students could take their meds as prescribed by the doctor. No one could prevent a student from seeking medical help on the grounds of discipline, points, or class honor. All powers of class monitors to temporarily confiscate items were revoked. The day the notice was posted, many people stood in the hallway reading it. Lin Che stood next to me and whispered, "So we really can go to the school clinic when we're not feeling well." His voice was very soft, like it was the first time he realized he wasn't at fault. In the last 100 days of senior year, I transferred out of my original elite class. My new class was at the end of the hallway. There were no red honor boards covering the walls, no forms that timed bathroom breaks to the minute, and no one hanging class honor around everyone's neck, choking them until they couldn't breathe. My new homeroom teacher's surname was Chen. The first time she met me, she arranged my seat by the door. She said, "Here, you can get up and walk around whenever you need to. No need to ask permission. If you're not feeling well, you don't have to force yourself. You can go straight to the infirmary." I froze for a long time. So this is how simple those words could be. So this is how you could get through senior year without pushing a student to the breaking point. My new deskmate was called Jiang Ning. On the very first day, she handed me a sticky note. Written on it was, "I don't wear perfume. If you don't like it too noisy, I can remind the people behind us to keep it down." I stared at those words, and my nose suddenly stung with unshed tears. "Thank you," I whispered. She smiled. "It's nothing. I don't like it too noisy either. We didn't ask each other about our illnesses. we didn't pry into why the other needed care. She just pulled the curtain by the window halfway to block out the harsh sunlight. People from my original class sent me messages one after another. Suli, I'm sorry. I used to say you were faking it, I shouldn't have filmed that video that day. I didn't know Pei-du really stole your medicine. When Bai Rui posted on her moments, I even comforted her. I'm sorry. I looked at those messages, my heart calm and still. I didn't reply. Not every apology needs a corresponding, it's okay. Tang Ying came to find me in person, though. She stood at the stairwell, eyes red. Suli, I was scared that day too, at first. I thought you were making a big deal out of nothing, but later I realized, if you hadn't made a big deal, none of us would have known we could say no. I looked at her. Don't ever tell anyone else to just endure it again. She nodded firmly. The day Pei-du transferred schools, I saw him once at the school gate. He had lost a lot of weight. His uniform jacket hung over his arm, and his face no longer had that former shine of a model class monitor. He saw me and paused for a few seconds. Suli, I ignored him. From behind, he said, you weren't like this before. I stopped in my tracks. Before, I would have explained myself in a small voice. I would have been afraid of causing trouble for others. I would have hidden my medicine deep, terrified that classmates might see. I would have gritted my teeth and kept solving problems even when I felt terrible. I would have swallowed all my pain back down just because he said, be good. The me from before had already died once, died on that night when my pill box was snatched away, died in the voices of everyone saying, you're just overthinking it. I turned to look at him. Yeah, the Suli from before, you already killed her. Pei-du's face went deathly pale. Of course he didn't understand, and I didn't need him to. I slung my backpack over my shoulder and walked forward. The spring wind blew through the school path, carrying the scent of leaves and chalk dust. I didn't tremble. In the side pocket of my bag, my pill box sat within easy reach. A new label was stuck on the lid. My name, my medicine, my boundaries. I returned to the new classroom and took out my English exam paper. Sunlight fell on the desk, warm in a way that felt almost foreign. I lowered my head and started writing. Halfway through, I suddenly stopped and slowly let out a breath. Depression is not shame. Taking medicine is not failure. I don't need to push myself to the point of collapse to prove I'm trying hard enough. And I certainly don't need to hand my medicine over to anyone for judgment. What really should be taken away, it was never my pill box. It's those hands that reach for other people's wounds, hiding behind banners of discipline, grades, and, it's for your own good. This time, I will live well until the college entrance exam, not to prove anything to anyone, but for myself. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. My sister and I were reborn at the same time. She bound herself to a spending system, chose to redeem the villain, but ended up imprisoned and tortured in various ways. Meanwhile, I bound myself to a doting wife system and was pampered like a princess at home. Even better, I caught the eye of a big shot in J City and became his cherished darling. She fled with hatred and killed me during childbirth after escaping death. When I opened my eyes again, she had already bound herself to the perfect wife system. Before me, sister, in this life, you can enjoy the pleasure of spending money. Watching her confident expression, I was overjoyed. Who would want to be a scapegoat when there's money to be had? I choose the trophy wife system, my sister blurted out impatiently, cutting off the system's next words. I'm prettier and more talented than my sister. With the trophy wife system assisting me, I'll achieve twice the results with half the effort. The system warned, the James family's plot is complex. Your stepmother won't tolerate you, under her manipulation. Your father neglects you, your grandmother ignores you, and your stepsister hates you. They won't allow you to meet with the big shot of J City. My sister quickly interjected, my stepmother can't stand me, all because she's afraid I'll compete with my stepsister for the family inheritance. As long as I successfully marry Charles Smith, what does she matter? Besides, she turned to glance at me, her eyes filled with disdain. My sister is so foolish, yet in her past life she easily won their affection. There's no reason I should do worse than her. She was so fixated on my past life's smooth sailing that she completely overlooked such an obvious plot hint from the system. This is good too. The spending system is mine now. If she wants to be the sacrificial lamb of the James family, so be it. In my past life, my sister beat me to binding with the spending system. The money inside was inexhaustible and limitless. With just a casual wave of her hand, a crowd would rush to serve her. I thought she would stand atop the tower, looking down at me as I trudged humbly through the James family. She could have easily completed the mission and left this world, yet she chose to redeem the villain, fulfilling the task through his affection points, but the clever villain saw right through her system, forcing her to cough up the money. Afraid she might escape, the villain locked her in the basement. She cried and begged. Even revealing her entire background, she repeatedly assured him that her only intention was to redeem him. Nothing more. The villain, already deeply twisted in character, didn't believe a single word she said, viewing her as nothing but a deceitful schemer who deliberately got close to him. He inflicted upon her 100-fold the pain that others had once imposed on him. The villain always maintained control, reviving her just as she was about to break, and placed a large mirror beside her. Thus, she died and came back to life countless times, watching her reflection in the mirror wither like a fading flower. During another round of the villain's torment, she feigned death and, seizing the moment of his inattention, grabbed a syringe from the ground and plunged it fiercely into his neck. After succeeding, she took the key from the villain and escaped the basement. The moment she emerged and saw me on the big screen, surrounded by the entire James family as I married the big shot of J City, her face twisted beyond recognition. After marriage, I was pampered by the J City big shot, becoming his beloved wife. Every day's headlines inevitably featured the sweet daily life between me and the J City big shot. She went even crazier, clutching her resentment toward me with all her might. I couldn't fathom her thinking, with a money-spending system at her disposal, making a comeback would be easy, surely better than my cautious maneuvering between the Smith and James families. Yet she chose to fixate on competing with me. At the moment I was about to give birth, she killed me with a syringe, and was immediately killed by the bodyguards who arrived upon hearing the news. When I opened my eyes again, as she wished, we were both reborn. After she successfully bound the system, the James family sent someone to pick her up, and the days of happily spending money fell to me. The James family only sent a driver to pick up the younger sister. Their condescending attitude showed they didn't care about her at all. Outwardly, the younger sister was all smiles and politeness, but secretly she recorded everything they said and played it back for Mr. James. Mr. James came to pick her up personally. She twirled towards me with swan-like dance steps, proudly saying to me, "Look, Dad came to pick me up himself, living a second life." I finally understand that having family is better than having money. You can just cling to your money and be a street rat. The world of the novel she and I traveled through. Our mother died in childbirth delivering us, so we were sent to live with our grandmother in the countryside from a young age. Our father quickly remarried and had a daughter 5 years younger than us. I don't know where she got the idea that Mr. James, whom she had never met, would genuinely cherish her as his daughter when he came to take her home in person. Since she was so eager to take my place as the lamb to the slaughter, I could only wish her good luck. She took it as sarcasm, jealous that she had caught our father's eye, unlike my past self who obediently followed the driver. Without a word, she cast me a deeply smug glance, tinged with faint pity, before gracefully walking away, leaving only an elegant silhouette behind. Little did she know what storm awaited her upon returning. She only saw how I was doted on like a princess after being taken back in my past life, but she didn't see the painful price I paid to break free from the James family. I know full well that wealth should not be flaunted. Maintaining the original character's persona, I quietly attended school, did household chores, and worked odd jobs at Grandma's clinic. Unlike my sister in her past life, who openly defied Grandma and was noticed as acting strangely, ultimately getting locked up at home, I kept a low profile. I don't know if it's just my imagination, but Grandma's gaze at me is increasingly resembling that of a lamb being led to slaughter, and her unreasonable demands on me are multiplying. If I'm even slightly slow in my movements, I'm met with her cold, reproachful glare. To this, I have no reaction. I simply go about my business as usual. The people at the clinic aren't surprised by this either. They can't even be bothered to spare me a sympathetic glance, instead talking about how clever my never-before-seen stepsister is. But none of this had anything to do with me. Song Yang, who also worked odd jobs, always stood up for me. "You don't seem like her granddaughter, more like her enemy." I laughed it off, but she piqued my interest. During our conversation, I discovered that she was a dropout determined to improve women's medical devices. Due to her impoverished family circumstances, she had to leave school before finishing middle school and started working at a medical clinic. Her goal was to accumulate some basic medical knowledge, save up money, and later take the college entrance exam to study medical devices and engineering. People at the clinic secretly mocked her foolishness and treated her as cheap labor, keeping her busy with menial tasks, making it Impossible for her to learn even the basics. I was just worrying about how to spend the money in my hands. Her words enlightened me on the future direction of spending money. When she realized I was the only one who understood and believed in her aspirations and was willing to sponsor her, she hugged my arm, moved to tears with snot running down her face. She repeatedly assured me, "I will definitely live up to your expectations." She regularly reported her learning progress and the use of funds to me. She also brought in other impoverished students in need of help, all of whom were determined to study medicine and address the shortcomings in women's healthcare. To this end, I established medical aid foundations around the world, specifically to support students like them. I had my own selfish reasons for doing this, whether in fiction or the real world. Even in today's technologically advanced era, there are still pregnant women like my mother who die from childbirth complications. I hope that some of them will become research talents in the medical field in the future, developing a painless assisted delivery device to help pregnant women give birth quickly. Just as I was juggling between the foundation and the medical clinic, Grandma suddenly called me into her private office. A cup of ginger and red date tea was pushed in front of me, and she unexpectedly became gentle and kind. "Studying must have worn you out. Sit down and rest for a while." I didn't move, and under my probing gaze, she said she just wanted to show concern for me. This superficial concern lasted until my winter break. Remained patient, but she couldn't hold back and eagerly revealed her purpose. "The clinic isn't doing well, and we urgently need a large sum of money for advertising to attract customers." She watched my reaction, pursed her lips, and continued, "Your sister Heidi said you have money, Helen James. Can you help Grandma?" So my sister was setting a trap for me here. No wonder Grandma kept probing whether I had money. My sister is probably going to be disappointed. Even if I had money, I wouldn't waste a single penny on anyone from the James family, let alone put myself in danger. I asked her how much she was short. If it's really urgent, she could sell that old house. At worst, she could close the clinic and go live in luxury with the billionaire Mr. James. She was so angry that she kicked me out of the house and forbade me from returning, but I was quite happy to be free. My younger sister got the news and sent me an electronic invitation to show off. "Sister, how does it feel to be a rat crossing the street? I'm not as heartless as you were in your past life, leaving your own sister to die without lifting a finger." She thought that in her previous life, she ended up in such a dire situation because I didn't lend her a helping hand. In reality, from the moment she bound the system, I had been urging her to keep a low profile. When she disappeared, I exhausted all means to search for her whereabouts. Even before she killed me, I was on the verge of breaking free from the control of the Smith and James families, ready to mobilize all my financial and human resources to find her. She didn't give me this chance. I ignored her words and rented a dress to attend the banquet, because at the banquet, there was the medical company I wanted to acquire. I appeared at the banquet in an out-of-season dress, attracting no one's attention. Everyone was either busy exchanging insights or expanding their networks, with no time to spare for a small fry like me. It wasn't until my sister made her dazzling entrance that everyone's attention finally converged, but they weren't looking at her. They were looking at the person she was holding on to, one of the top 3 giants in the medical equipment industry, Mr. James. My sister clearly didn't notice any of this. When she saw me arrive, she tightly clung to Mr. James's arm, raised her chin to look at me, flaunting her position by his side. After Mr. James took her around the banquet hall, she couldn't wait to pull him over and subtly show off in front of me. "Dad, this is my sister." Hearing this, Mr. James merely gave me a slight nod before averting his gaze to look at others. Seeing this, my sister cast a triumphant glance at me, as if to say, "See, sister, what does having money matter when you don't have father's favor? It's nothing." For subsequent banquets of this kind, she would always send me invitations. If I didn't come, she would drag me along forcefully, just to show off how Mr. James doted on her, pampering her in every way. "Sister, Dad has already kicked out my stepmother and Ella James to prevent me from suffering. He even promised me that everything in the family is mine, and the company has already been transferred to my name. Even though we both have the spoiled wife system, I'm much more pampered than you were in your past life." I almost feel sorry for her. Even someone as difficult as my stepmother was willing to give up Mr. James's billions and leave with Ella James. Can't she see the problem here? I really wonder what expression my sister will have when she learns the truth. Completely unaware of the situation, my sister keeps trying to assert her presence in front of me in various ways. Upon finding out that I have money but still live on campus and have to endure the awful school food, she loudly mocked me, begged me, "Sister, and I'll ask Dad to bring you back home." After I sternly refused, She flashed a moment of anger before looking at me with smug satisfaction. Sister, don't be so stubborn. When the whole world abandons you, you'll realize how tragic a life is. Having money but no love or protection from family or a partner. She placed the engagement invitation with Charles Smith in my palm, gloating. It was Charles Smith who pursued me first. If I hadn't agreed, he would have kept chasing me until I gave in. Charles Smith, as the third son of the Smith family in J City, had women from equally prestigious backgrounds pursuing him like a swarm of fish in a river. What made my sister think she was the most special one among them? Watching the uncontrollable smile on her lips as she immersed herself in the castle built for her by Mr. James and Charles Smith, I felt neither the responsibility nor the obligation to remind her to be cautious of them. At the engagement banquet, she arranged for me to sit in the front row. She wanted me to witness her being enveloped in happiness, watching how Charles Smith, who had spoiled me like a daughter in my past life, was now devoted to her with all his heart, and how Mr. James doted on her at every turn, and none of them let her down. Charles Smith scowled fiercely in front of me, poured a glass of red wine over my head, and glared at me with a hostile expression, saying, "Heidi said you admire me. Being liked by an ugly freak like you is really disgusting." He snapped his fingers, and several black-clad security guards immediately stepped forward to restrain me. "Throw her out. I never want to see her again." Mr. James is no less impressive than him, standing before me in my disheveled state, showing no regard for my fragile heart. He looked down at me and warned, "David James, have only one daughter. Heidi, don't you dare try to take her place or seduce Charles. If anything happens, I won't cover for you." My sister, with a radiant smile, linked arms with both of them and, looking at me, couldn't hide her triumphant tone as she said in a sweet, coquettish voice, "Don't say that. After all, she's my sister." Both of them were busy comforting their younger sister. To an outsider, it might seem like they were spoiling her rotten. Amidst the crowd's gasps, I opened an entire bottle of red wine and poured it over Charles Smith's head, returning his words to him. "I also find it disgusting to be looked at by you, so please don't appear in front of me, okay? I'm afraid I won't be able to resist hitting you every time I see you." Before Mr. James could speak, I made myself clear to him. "Being your daughter is quite a torment. I don't envy it." I pulled my sister, who was pretending to be scared in Charles Smith's arms, and slapped her hard. "Stop acting shameless in front of me. My patience has its limits." No matter how venomously she glared at me, I walked away without looking back. As I was leaving, I caught sight of a rabbit-eyed girl who quickly fled in alarm when she noticed my gaze. Casting the same malicious look at my sister, unaware, my sister nestled in Charles Smith's arms. My sister didn't come looking for me for quite some time. I was happy to have the peace, speeding up the formation of my medical team and investing heavily in the development of medical devices to aid women's treatment, greatly improve those outdated medical devices that cause pain to women's bodies, so that women no longer have to endure embarrassment when seeking medical treatment. Song Yang helped me while attending school. With her involvement, significant progress has been made in advancing the improvement of medical devices. But just as our batch of products was approved for market release, we encountered a major obstacle. The entire medical industry refused to use our batch of improved medical devices. Just as I was planning to independently establish a hospital dedicated to serving women, Mr. James approached me. He set aside his pride, looked at me with the eyes of an ordinary father, and spoke earnestly. "As a young woman, you're bound to encounter various challenges when doing business out there, but with your father by your side, it's different. They wouldn't dare mess with you." I leaned forward and asked him what he meant. He told me, "Merge the company under the James family's umbrella. With the James family backing you, any problem you encounter will be easily resolved." I smiled. In my past life, when my sister disappeared from Grandma's house, I begged him to look for her, but he kept changing the subject, until Grandma hinted at her suspicion that my sister was carrying a large sum of money. Only then did he hurriedly send people to search for her. He came to me, and it was hard for me not to suspect that my sister had something to do with it. I turned him down. He told me not to regret it. Just as I had guessed, my sister couldn't wait to come and laugh at me. "Sister, you've successfully angered Dad. He won't let you off easy. He's nothing like that villain Chandler, whose methods against me in my past life were so amateurish. Of course I know how ruthless Mr. James can be, having built his empire from scratch. It's no surprise he's established such a firm foothold in the business world, but I'm no pushover either. Thanks to the experience from my past life, testing from Grandma James, I had already planted informants within the James family, just waiting for this day. The James family blocked my products, cutting off all my avenues, would expose the serious quality issues in their company's medical products. Some cases have even resulted in over 10,000 deaths or disabilities. Those whose health was affected by using James family's medical devices, seeing the medical incidents gaining traction online, have come forward to share their experiences. For a time, the James family's medical equipment products were widely questioned by the public. Before treatment, patients would invariably ask if the equipment was from the James family. If the answer was yes, they would immediately leave and refuse further treatment. I took the opportunity to launch our own product, which became an instant success and made a name for itself. Mr. James had no choice but to approach me and seek reconciliation. He attempted to propose, return to the James family, and the James family will be under your management. Upon hearing this news, my sister ran to Mr. James in tears, crying, "Dad, didn't you say the James family was mine? You even made a will. Why are you going back on your word? Don't you love Heidi anymore?" Mr. James, torn between my sister and me, painfully chose my sister, yet couldn't help casting hopeful glances in my direction, attempting to elicit a response from me. After learning that Mr. James wouldn't hand the company over to me, my sister regained her spirits and started bouncing around in front of me. "Sister, Dad will always be mine, and his company is mine too." Jealous, I showed her the private message Mr. James sent me. "Mr. James is willing to provide personnel to help me quickly establish a hospital and expand the company. He's even prepared to help me rapidly capture market share, without charging me a single cent." Just waiting for my nod of approval. After reading it, my sister's face turned pale, then paler, until she finally clenched her fists and glared at me with gritted teeth. "Why does Dad treat you so well? Stop putting on an act. No matter what you do, Dad will always love only me, his one and only daughter." She was still living in the lie Mr. James had woven for her. I raised an eyebrow. "Oh, then why is he in such a hurry to marry you off?" I planted a seed of doubt in my sister's heart, causing my sister to be distracted and absent-minded. Charles Smith tried to comfort her to no avail before coming to trouble me. Seeking to vent her anger, wearing sunglasses, he impatiently threw a check in my face and said, "Take the money, either get lost or die." Seeing the 5 zeros on the check, I nearly laughed myself to tears. "If you're going to send someone away, at least add 2 more zeros." Charles Smith thought I was provoking his limits and ordered his bodyguards to teach me a lesson. My younger sister nestled in his arms, delicate and coquettish, saying in a sweet voice, "Sister, take the money and leave quickly. Charles is getting angry." Yet her gaze at me was filled with endless mockery and triumph. Watching Charles Smith, who had doted on me endlessly in my past life, now spoiling her like a daughter in this one. This poor soul with nothing but money. Might I become so jealous of her that I twist and deform? I could only tell her that she was overthinking it. In my past life, even when I was stuck in the mire, I didn't rely on Charles Smith, who suddenly appeared to pull me out of it, nor did I trust him completely, so how could I possibly fall for him in this life? Hasn't she noticed that Charles Smith treats her so well that he never cares about her feelings, venting his animalistic desires anytime, anywhere? Not only does Charles Smith have bodyguards, but I do too. I don't want to see them disgust me anymore. Have the bodyguards throw them out and put up a sign that says, "Charles Smith and dogs are not allowed." As Charles Smith left, he threw a remark at me, "I'll remember you." My sister misunderstood and clung to Charles Smith, making a scene. "If you like my sister, go after her. It's not like I can't live without you." Charles Smith was never a patient man to begin with, and after being thwarted by me, he immediately grabbed my sister by the neck and lifted her up, demanding, still causing trouble. My sister widened her eyes in shock. In her previous life, she had only seen Charles Smith, the male lead, treating me with endless tenderness and care. She had never witnessed this brutal side of him before. What's the difference from the villain who tormented her in her past life? She was terrified and instinctively shook her head vigorously. Seeing her become obedient, Charles Smith reverted to his usual self, gently smoothing her hair as he said, "As long as you behave and don't make me angry, I'll give you anything you want." Her sister nodded stiffly. Charles Smith was very satisfied with her performance. Later, he deliberately brought some women in front of his sister to test her a few more times. He discovered that as soon as he became violent with his sister, she would cower in fear like a quail. After that, he dropped all pretense in front of his sister. If her words or actions displeased him even slightly, he would vent his anger on her. His sister began staying at the Smith family hospital for extended periods. She wanted to return to the James family to stop the marriage agreement from proceeding as scheduled, but all her requests were rejected by Mr. James. Charles is a rare good husband. Your sister Ella James wants to marry him, but you said you liked him, and Dad agreed with you. What more could you possibly want? Besides, Dad has secured 20% of the Smith family's shares for you. Once you bear the Pay family a golden heir, those shares will be yours, and the entire James family will be yours too. Even Charles Smith will have to live under your thumb. Focus on recovering here. Don't think about anything else. Holding the share transfer agreement and tempted by Mr. James's grand promises, my sister ultimately abandoned her thoughts of fleeing the marriage. She thought that in my previous life, I managed to live well by Charles Smith's side and even carried twins, so she might not fare worse than me. My sister deliberately wore the diamond necklace gifted by Mr. Pay and came to flaunt it in front of me. Look, sister, the betrothal gifts the Pay family gave me are twice as grand as what you received in your past life. But I was staring at the purple bruises on her wrist. Indeed, in my past life, he never hit me this hard either. In my previous life, after Charles Smith successfully pursued me, he revealed his true colors and began to act inappropriately toward me. From the very beginning, I made a big deal out of the situation, forcing Mr. James to step in and pressured Charles Smith to apologize to me. Charles Smith put on a convincing act, kneeling and kowtowing, begging me not to break up with him and to give him another chance, promising he would treat me well. With my sister gone and me having no other options, I showed a moment of weakness and agreed to his plea. Everything indeed went as he said, pampering me in every way and treating me like a treasure. It wasn't until the day I gave birth that I learned the truth. He only saw me as a vessel to bear his child. He planned to kill me after the birth, but my sister intervened, striking first and killing both me and the child. Even Charles Smith had his eyes on me from the moment I returned to the James family, deliberately creating problems to get close to me and make me develop feelings for him. It's just that in my past life, I didn't quite trust Mr. James, and I especially didn't believe in the so-called good son-in-law Charles Smith that Mr. James spoke of. I kept my guard up against both of them. If my sister hadn't burst in and killed me in the end, would have immediately sold all the shares transferred to me by Mr. James and the Smith family after overhearing the truth, and after finding my sister, I would have fled far away. Unfortunately, I was just one step short. This life, it's my sister's turn. I wonder what choices my sister will make in this life after hearing those truths. I could have warned my sister, but why should I warn someone who's always ready to kill me? If I hadn't become strong enough to make Mr. James and Charles Smith fear me, I would have been locked in the basement long ago, tortured beyond endurance. My sister knew nothing about this and was still maliciously fantasizing about the future in front of me, unaware that one of her feet had already stepped into the abyss of hell. Perhaps in this life, Charles Smith dealt with my sister too effortlessly, thinking she was already a puppet in his hands, incapable of causing any waves. Speaking and acting without restraint, she let her sister learn the truth of the matter in advance. Instead of confronting Charles Smith, she went to fight with her stepsister. The stepsister was the heroine of the novel world, and my sister saw how easily I defeated the heroine in my past life and ascended to the throne as the new heroine. Only then did she lower her guard against the original heroine. My stepsister was tightly shielded in Charles Smith's arms, so all the slaps from my sister naturally landed on Charles Smith's face. Seeing Charles Smith's darkened expression, my sister trembled slightly, but ultimately, fueled by anger over the truth, she even hit Charles Smith along with her. Charles Smith didn't tolerate her tantrum any longer and slapped her back. My sister's entire mind was left buzzing. She was then slapped dozens more times until her face swelled up like a pig's head, and she fainted from sheer anger. When she woke up again, her sister received both good news and bad news. The good news was that she was pregnant, and Charles Smith cared deeply about the child in her womb, so he would no longer lay a hand on her. The bad news was that her movements were restricted. Apart from eating, drinking, and using the bathroom, she was not allowed to leave the room for even a single step. Charles Smith hired dozens of nurses and caregivers to take turns watching over her, fearing that her agitation and emotional instability might affect the health of the baby in her womb. Charles Smith specifically invited Mr. James to come and comfort her. Don't be afraid, your father will always stand by your side. Let Charles Smith like Ella James if he wants. You probably don't know this yet, but Ella James has a heart condition and can't bear children. Cheer up, if you can't win Charles Smith's heart, then take his fortune. When he grows old and wants both children and property, won't he have to come begging you? Mr. James failed to console his sister this time, pretending to be persuaded. His sister sneaked out of the hospital when everyone let their guard down. Disregarding her appearance, she ran frantically to grab me and started questioning me relentlessly. Why didn't you tell me Charles Smith still loves Ella James, now that I'm in such a terrible state? You must be feeling smug, aren't you? I pushed her away and retorted, if I told you, would you have listened? She wouldn't. Instead, she would see me as an enemy, competing with her for Charles Smith even if I said Charles Smith was deliberately arranged by Mr. James to get close to her. She wouldn't listen. She blamed everything on me, screaming at me, if you don't say it, how would you know I wouldn't listen? You just want to see me live worse than you. Think whatever you want. I called security to escort her away, giving her one final piece of advice for the sake of our sisterhood, considering her pregnancy. Don't hold any expectations for Mr. James, you'll fall hard, and that child, it's better not to keep it either. She immediately covered her stomach and took a step back, eyeing me warily. I knew she was thinking the worst of me again. I get it now, you're trying to drive a wedge between me and Dad while I'm emotionally vulnerable. Did you really think I'd fall for that? Hee hee, Dad is the person who loves me most in this world. He didn't hesitate to give me even the company shares Ella James wanted the most in her room. I may not trust Charles Smith, but I must trust Dad. After saying this, she didn't forget to glance at me disdainfully, seemingly quite proud of having seen through my scheme, but she forgot, if Mr. James truly loved her, how could he not know what kind of person Charles Smith is and tolerate Charles Smith's schemes against her? Ultimately, she failed to recognize herself and her true standing in Mr. James's heart. Driven solely by a competitive spirit, she sought to outdo me. Seeing my silence, she naturally assumed she had struck a nerve, hitting upon an unspoken sore point. To her, it was as if she had emerged victorious, strutting out like a triumphant rooster, head held high. My sister clearly didn't take my words to heart. After returning, she somehow reached an agreement with Charles Smith and went back to the Pei family with him, arm in arm, to rest during her pregnancy. That day's news pages were filled with high-definition close-up photos of her and Charles Smith looking deeply in love. This public display of affection continued for several months, right up until her due date approached. She suddenly came to see me, caressing her prominently rounded belly with a radiant smile, trying to pull my hand over to feel the baby's movements. Seeing me dodge, she withdrew her hand dejectedly and sighed, "Sister, I've thought a lot since I went back. Besides you being my closest family, it's them, but I'm afraid Charles Smith might really harm me. I heard you have an outstanding medical team, with an almost 100% survival rate for difficult childbirth cases. Could you have them deliver my baby at the Smith Family Hospital? If that's inconvenient, I can come to your hospital too. If the child is born safely and I survive, I'll convince Dad to bring you back home." To this day, she still thinks I care about the paternal love that Mr. James never gave. As if I didn't know, the hospitals of James and Smith, plagued by endless maternal deaths, had already made her terrified on a deeper level. If she died in my hospital, it would shatter the legend of our maternity ward. Zero mortality rate, add a few inflammatory remarks about gender conflict, and my hospital could be torn apart in minutes. Radical people would dig up my company, and wherever I go, I'd be pelted with rotten eggs. With her level of thinking, she wouldn't grasp the deeper implications. I firmly refused. "No, Mr. James loves you so much, he wouldn't let this slide." My sister angrily stood up and snapped, "Don't say I didn't warn you." My sister still managed to sneak into my hospital to give birth. When Song Yang told me, I told her to turn a blind eye. Nearly 10 hours into labor, the news of Mr. James' arrest suddenly went viral on online platforms, appearing right in front of my sister as the legal representative of the James family. With the company exposed in a scandal and under investigation, she should be detained just like Mr. James, considering she's pregnant. This matter will have to wait until after she gives birth, but those creditors couldn't care less whether she was giving birth or not. They caused a scene at the hospital, demanding compensation. My sister checked the company accounts and found there was no money left. Although the houses and cars were in her name, all these assets had been seized by the court. Compared to the billions Mr. James had shorted, these were not even worth a drop in the bucket. When she learned about this, my sister broke down and screamed, telling them to go ask our stepmother and stepsister for the money. However, the debt collectors weren't fools. They had already done their research and knew Mr. James had long since cut all ties with them. Even if they took it to court, it wouldn't make a dime's worth of difference to them. The massive debt still fell on my sister to repay, and not a single cent could be short. I only found out about Mr. James's plan by chance in my past life. Mr. James had already been on a downward spiral for several years. To embezzle all the company's funds, Mr. James and his stepmother came up with this brilliant plan to pull the rug from under everyone's feet. They would use the daughter from his ex-wife as a scapegoat while transferring all assets to his current wife and daughter. After the incident, Mr. James went to prison, while the stepmother and stepsister continued their carefree and happy lives. Perhaps, after a few years of good behavior, Mr. James might reunite with his family. Mr. James might have been greedy, or perhaps he was thinking far ahead for his younger daughter. Not only did he make his ex-wife's daughter shoulder all the company's debts, but he also used her womb to bear a bloodline descendant for his younger daughter. In my past life, I was wary of him, and even at the moment of my childbirth, he dared not make his next move. In this life, my sister firmly believed in the bond between father and daughter, allowing him to act without any obstacles. Upon learning that all the wealth promised by Mr. James had vanished and that she was now burdened with tens of billions in debt, my sister instantly developed the idea of dragging me down to death with her, but her emotions fluctuated too intensely in a short period. Originally, there were still 10 hours before the onset of labor, but now there were faint signs of it starting, preventing her from coming to find me. She clutched the nurse's hand tightly, gritting her teeth. Call Charles Smith, give me the shares. Charles Smith was the last straw she could grasp, but she realized too late. Charles Smith had long grown tired of her and was eagerly waiting for her to die. The moment the call connected, he coldly mocked, "Don't covet what isn't yours. Those shares are a gift for Ella James and our child. Who do you think you are?" My sister's face twisted in pain as she let out a sharp, anguished cry. "I'm carrying your child inside me. If you won't give me the shares, fine, I'll take your child with me to the grave." Charles Smith scoffed dismissively. "Suit yourself. If you don't want to bear it, there are plenty of others who will. If you never loved me, why did you pursue me in the first place? Why choose me to be the mother of your child?" My sister was utterly shattered. Charles Smith chuckled softly, his tone drawn out. "Of course it's because you're easy to fool. Without spending a single penny, you obediently came to me to be the surrogate mother for mine and Ella James's child." The last straw was gone, and my sister let out a desperate scream. Due to her extreme emotional swings, the labor process became very difficult. In the end, the doctor had no choice but to perform local anesthesia to deliver the baby, but before administering local anesthesia, tests revealed she was allergic to the anesthetic. The doctor advised her to give up both children to save her own life. Unexpectedly, my sister clenched her teeth and chose to undergo the procedure without anesthesia. I don't know what mindset she had when she chose to save the children. Perhaps this is the greatest aspect of motherhood, choosing to sacrifice oneself so that a child can glimpse this world. Little did she know that the child she fought so hard to bring into the world, the one she treasured like a jewel, was seen as nothing but a burden in the eyes of Mr. James and others. I don't understand, but I respect her choice. Fortunately, Song Yang has already designed a specialized birthing pod for this rare case of difficult labor. After testing, it has been proven to allow the mother to simply sleep through the entire birthing process. The product is currently in the marketing planning stage and has not yet been officially launched for market use. Given the special circumstances of my sister, we decided to let her use it first. After entering, my sister will enter a phase of forced sleep. Upon waking up, her body will return to normal pain sensitivity, similar to the discomfort experienced during menstruation. Just as the midwife was wheeling my sister into the operating room, Charles Smith arrived at the hospital with a large group of people to forcibly take her away. He actually had the audacity to say, "Heidi is my wife, Helen James, you have no right to take away my wife and child." Following him in were reporters from various media outlets. "I heard you and your sister don't get along, Helen James. Would you sabotage your sister during her difficult childbirth? Helen James, did you deliberately take advantage of your sister's labor to collapse the James family?" Seeking revenge for her marrying the crown prince, the security guards failed to stop the swarm of reporters rushing in. They followed Charles Smith as he barged into the operating room where my sister was. The operating room door opened from the inside, and Charles Smith strode straight in. The doctor monitoring the data stood up to block him but was mercilessly shoved aside by the bodyguards behind him. Looking at my sister lying in the birthing pod, Charles Smith was suddenly overwhelmed with grief. He grabbed a nearby nurse and demanded harshly, "If anything happens to my wife and child, every single person here will pay with their lives." The reporters, upon seeing the new birthing pod, began snapping photos frantically as if they had stumbled upon a major news story, promptly publishing them online. #RealLifeHumanExperiment I was bombarded with criticism from everyone for using an unapproved, immature product without permission. recklessly treating life as a game. Charles Smith even wanted to open the birthing pod immediately and take my sister away. Amid the clamor, a loud infant's cry forcefully shattered the noise, plunging the scene into silence. Then, another baby's cry rang out. Under the live broadcast lenses of the reporters, my sister's 2 children were safely born. The monitoring instruments showed that all of my sister's vital signs were stable. Realizing the situation, Charles Smith wanted to rush in to save his sister, but I arrived just in time with bodyguards and the police. In front of the police, Charles Smith vehemently accused me. She used an unapproved product during my wife's delivery, treating her like a lab rat. This violates both the law and ethics. I demand her immediate arrest. Instead, the police handcuffed him. He froze for a moment, then erupted in fury. Arrest her, police. That's right, we're here to arrest you. At that moment, my sister slowly regained consciousness, hearing Charles Smith's voice. She rushed out of the medical pod without hesitation and clung to the police officer, vouching for Charles Smith. Big sister harmed me, save me. She accused me of violating her wishes by forcibly pushing her into the medical pod for childbirth, treating her like a lab rat for practice. But the police still took Charles Smith away. She looked at me with venom in her eyes. I could have had a complete family. Why did you have to tear it apart? I knew she was already beyond redemption. The torment from the villain in her past life had completely twisted her into someone just like him. Charles Smith had intended to use his sister's difficult childbirth to deal a fatal blow to me and my hospital. Unexpectedly, all the procedures for my product were complete, except that I had concealed part of the truth from him. It also sparked another wave of discussion online. Mothers enduring the agony of childbirth all wanted to transfer to my hospital to deliver. It was like getting free advertising, with results even better than the millions I had prepared for marketing, and I took advantage of this wave of attention that hadn't yet subsided to release all the evidence I had previously gathered. The Smith family, relying on their power and influence, never prioritized patients' health. After accidents occurred, they often silenced people. When silencing didn't work, they framed others. Some shady businesses behind the scenes were also exposed by netizens, leading to the downfall of the Smith family. My sister, having lost all her support, screamed at me. When I ignored her, she silently carried the 2 children out of the hospital. Just as we stepped outside, the children were snatched away by men in black. She desperately chased after them, only to discover that the person who had taken her child was her stepsister. Her stepsister held the 2 children, her face blooming with joy. When the sister demanded the children back, her stepsister coldly replied, "What do these children have to do with you? They're mine, conceived with my eggs." The stepmother threw a wad of cash at the sister's face and said, "Here's your money, don't disturb our lives again." With that, she shut the door, leaving her stepsister outside. Only then did the sister realize that the embryo implanted in her body when she fainted was from her stepsister and Charles Smith. As for herself, upon returning to the James family, Mr. James had already rendered her infertile, preserving only her uterus. Later, she heard news of her sister again, this time online. A family of 4 was brutally murdered at home in the early hours, including 2 newborn babies. My sister became a wanted criminal, and she came to find me, taking advantage of me just finishing a meeting and not paying attention. Just like in the previous life, she tried to kill me again with a syringe. However, this time I was prepared. Before collapsing, she screamed at me, "Why is it that even after getting a second chance, your life is still better than mine? From childhood till now, whether competing for grandma's attention or dad's love, I was always the one who won. I can't accept this." My sister's death stemmed from her blind faith in the fairy tale castles men built for her. In her previous life, she could have lived much better, yet she chose to redeem men, deluding herself that they would return her love. The same holds true in this lifetime. She is not a princess, and there is no king in this world. All we can do is love ourselves well. As long as we love ourselves a little more, no one in the world can hurt us. Due to my leadership in revolutionizing the world's medical technology, especially in women's healthcare, I made outstanding contributions and excellently completed the system's tasks. The system rewarded me with a return to reality, yet, I used it to revisit the past and bring my mother back to life. This time, my sister and I were never born. She lives on instead. After hearing the second story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. I only found out after my death that my best friend had bound herself to a luck-draining system. The higher my favorability towards her, the more successful she was at siphoning away my luck. Later, to secure the Harvard admission spot from our school, she drained all my luck. I was hit by a car running a red light and died after failed resuscitation attempts. After being reborn, all I felt for her was pure hatred, but her system didn't detect that my favorability had changed. I watched as the luck she siphoned from me turned into misfortune. Jessica, the teacher said you should rest well, leave the English competition to me. Ivy held my hand, her face feigning concern while her eyes were filled with schadenfreude. But in my previous life, I completely failed to notice her hidden emotions. I instinctively shook off her hand, the pain from the car accident still lingering as if it had just happened, my parents' cries still echoing in my ears. Ivy looked at me in panic. Jessica, what's wrong? Are you angry that I'm competing in your place? If you're upset, I won't go. How did I not realize she was such a good actress in my past life? Competition. Remember now, in my previous life, I was selected to participate in the National English Speech Competition, but because I broke my leg, the opportunity was given to Ivy, who ultimately won second prize. This should be the time when I just broke my leg and was recuperating in the hospital. Ivy and I are neighbors, grew up together since childhood, and are best friends who share everything with each other. I have always trusted her completely, treating her like my own sister, but ever since the second year of high school, my luck inexplicably started to turn bad, getting hit by a soccer ball on the playground, nearly struck by a falling flower pot, and breaking my leg falling down the stairs. Ivy said I might have attracted something unclean and gave me a protective charm. I don't believe in these things, but I didn't want to refuse her kindness, so I wore it. On our way to the city library together, I was hit by a car that ran a red light and sent flying, while my best friend miraculously didn't even get a scratch, as if she were a living koi fish. As I fell to the ground, I saw a transparent panel appear in front of my best friend. It displayed my information. The luck stat is showing as negative. Turns out my best friend had bound a luck system and made me the target for siphoning luck. Every time I accepted something she gave me, there was a chance my luck would be drained, and this probability was based on how much I liked my best friend. In my previous life, my favorability towards her reached 90, and her success rate of draining my luck was as high as 90%. The day before my car accident, the school announced the list of students recommended for Harvard, with only 3 spots available. I was third, and Ivy was fourth. The next day, Ivy gave me a charm, and then I died in a car accident, with the recommendation spot falling to Ivy. At this moment, the system panel unfolded before Ivy once again. I saw her ask the system to check my favorability towards her. My recent action made her suspicious, but I'm not worried, because she can only see the favorability from my past life towards her. Sure enough, her system panel displayed, Jessica's favorability towards the host is 90. She let out a sigh of relief. I suddenly spoke up. That's right, I am angry. I just hurt my leg. It's not like I can't speak. You don't need to go to the English competition for me. I can go myself. Her mouth fell open. Jessica, no matter what, your health is the most important thing. Participating in the competition means going to City J. How inconvenient is that for you right now? She tried to persuade me with earnest words, but I had made up my mind not to let her have her way. After watching her leave in frustration, I almost couldn't hold back my laughter. I knew she wouldn't give up on participating in the competition and would definitely take further action. Sure enough, the next day, she came to the hospital with a teacher. The English teacher from class 1 was also the team leader for this competition. She also tried to persuade me to give the competition opportunity to Ivy. My parents were also there, and when they heard that I had broken my leg but still wanted to participate in the competition, they strongly disapproved. I said, "Teacher, you know my speaking level. If I compete, I'm sure to win first prize, but if it were Ivy, it's hard to say whether she could win an award." In Ivy's past life, when she competed, her opponent had a stomachache from eating something bad, and she luckily won second prize. The English teacher is currently being evaluated for professional promotion, and if I can win first prize, it would be a great help to her. So the English teacher hesitated. After thinking for a moment, she said, "How about this? Both you and Ivy go, and if you can't make it, then Ivy can step in." I thought this was the best solution, so I agreed. Ivy left still feeling very unwilling. On the day before the competition, my parents took me to City J and booked a separate room for me. Ivy came to see me and gave me a koi fish badge. "Jessica, the koi represents good luck. If you take it with you, you'll have good fortune. I believe you can definitely win first prize." I knew she wanted to siphon my luck again when I saw her giving me a gift. Her ability can only be used once every 7 days. Each time she uses it, she just needs to give me any random item. If I accept it, it's considered as my agreement to exchange my luck for that gift, and because my affection for her is very high, she successfully drains my luck every time. The reason I broke my leg was also because she gave me a bracelet, saying it was a best friend matching set. The price didn't seem expensive, and since we often exchange gifts like this, I accepted it. The very next day, I ended up falling down the stairs. Now, 7 days have passed since she last used her ability, and with the crucial competition day tomorrow, she's bound to find a way to prevent me from participating. Her method, of course, would be to drain my luck again and bring me great misfortune. I could clearly see the undisguised malice in her eyes. Though I knew what she was thinking, I still accepted the badge. All right, thank you, Ivy. She couldn't suppress the smile at the corner of her mouth as she opened the system panel. I saw the luck bar in my stats drop another notch. She closed the system panel with satisfaction, then left after giving me some insincere words of concern. After she left, I also opened my system panel. That's right, I'm also bound to a system. The day I woke up in the hospital, the system approached me. It said it was the law enforcement system, and the luck system attached to my best friend was actually a virus system that it needed to reclaim, but the virus system had already absorbed too much luck, making it temporarily unreclaimable, so it needed my help. In return, it helped conceal the affection points the virus system had recorded for Ivy from me. It also told me that my affection points not only influenced the virus system's success rate in consuming luck but also determined whether the luck would be good or bad. My favorability is positive, so the luck absorbed by the virus system is good fortune, and what Ivy takes away is naturally also good luck. If my favorability is negative, the luck absorbed by the virus system becomes misfortune, and accordingly, what Ivy takes away is also misfortune. If the virus system absorbs too much misfortune, it will weaken, and my system can then reclaim it. At this moment, I look at the favorability rating for Ivy on my system panel, -90. Oh Ivy, Ivy, come and drain all my misfortune away. Nothing unexpected happened to me until just before the competition started the next day. Ivy looked visibly anxious. I sat in the wheelchair, and Ivy volunteered to push it for me. I quickly declined and even demonstrated how I could maneuver the wheelchair with my hands flexibly. Ivy, why do you look so anxious? Did you eat something bad? Maybe you should go back to the hotel first. Seeing you like this makes me nervous, and I'm afraid I won't perform well later. The English teacher, worried that my nervousness might affect my performance, said, Jessica, just stay calm. Your abilities are enough as long as you perform normally. Then, turning to Ivy, she asked, Ivy, Jessica is about to go on stage, and there shouldn't be any issues. If you're not feeling well, why don't you go back to the hotel to rest? Ivy clenched her teeth and replied, No, teacher, I'm fine. Just in case, I'd rather stay. Although she stayed, things didn't go as she had hoped. From the moment I stepped on stage to the beginning of my speech until its conclusion, I didn't encounter any mishaps or make any mistakes. Even the judges, seeing that I had a leg injury yet still insisted on competing, were very impressed with me. I performed normally, and the judges unanimously gave me high scores. As I stepped off the stage, I could still hear audience members praising me for being physically challenged but strong-willed. The moment I came down, my English teacher gave me a hug. Amazing, Jessica, you're definitely making it to the finals. I smiled and looked at Ivy, who was walking toward me with her legs slightly crossed as I was puzzled by her strange posture. A series of sounds came from her direction, followed by an indescribable stench filling the air. Someone nearby shouted, Damn, who just shat their pants? I saw Ivy's face turn red as she scurried away with quick, tiny steps. Did she really have an upset stomach? It's not my fault. You insisted on attracting this bad luck. Ivy had her dinner in the hotel room. When I saw her again the next day, her face was pale. I could still faintly smell her scent, so I quietly moved a bit farther away. Her face remained calm, but inwardly she was angrily cursing the virus system. Why is she completely fine, while I've been stuck with diarrhea all day? The virus system explained, you only absorbed her luck. She just has worse luck now, with a higher chance of accidents, but that doesn't mean she'll definitely have one. Similarly, absorbing her luck doesn't mean you won't get the runs either. In the end, Ivy still believed the virus system's explanation. After all, she had succeeded so many times before, and an occasional mistake was only natural. She could only watch helplessly as I took the stage for the finals. Perhaps as her bad luck faded, her fortune began to rise. The topic I drew for the impromptu speech turned out to be almost exactly what I had prepared for. My heart raced with excitement for a moment before quickly calming down. Gathering my thoughts, I began my speech. After the speech ended, I wheeled myself off the stage amidst thunderous applause. In the end, I won the special prize with second place in the finals, even higher than I had expected. I genuinely admired the first-place winner who managed to defeat me despite my thorough preparation. Besides, other students taught by the English teacher also won first and second prizes. The teacher treated us to a big meal. Everyone enjoyed the meal except Ivy. After the competition, I rested at home for another week. During this time, Ivy often came to my house to see me. She seemed to think it was because my favorability was too low, so she started trying to raise it in various ways. Even though the virus system showed my favorability toward her was 90 every day in class, she took notes for both of us, then gave them to me when we got home. On the weekend, she even accompanied me to the hospital for a follow-up check, running up and down to help, making my mom feel quite embarrassed. Seeing how hard she was trying, I had the enforcement system adjust her favorability rating in the virus system. When Ivy checked my favorability again after working hard all day, it had already reached 95. She was almost moved to tears, feeling that all her efforts were worth it. Then she couldn't wait to start using her ability. She bought me 2 pounds of pig's trotters. My mom says you are what you eat. See how good I am to you? I declined, saying it wasn't necessary, but my mom had already bought them. She got anxious and said, "No way, this is my heartfelt gift. If you still consider me your best friend, you have to accept it." Since she was being so kind, I reluctantly accepted it, recalling how attentive she had been these past few days. I pretended to have a stomachache to make her think her plan had worked. She pretended to comfort me for a bit before leaving, barely holding back her laughter. As soon as she left, I immediately reverted to my old self and stewed the pig trotters she had brought. Might as well eat them, no point in wasting them. Back at school, when I saw Ivy again, she had actually gotten a scar on her face. I heard that a junior playing basketball had broken the window, and the shattered glass had splashed onto Ivy's face, leaving a gash that required stitches at the hospital. I thought to myself, the power of bad luck is truly formidable. Ivy and I are desk mates. Everyone says that with one of us having a broken leg and the other a scarred face, the spot we sit in is a lucky location. I sat down in my seat with my crutches, and Ivy asked me, "Jessica, how have you been these past few days?" "Oh, here to check if I've had any bad luck," I said. "Not good at all." I was already annoyed about the broken leg. And now I have diarrhea too. Hearing that I had diarrhea seemed to make her feel a little better. At least I was genuinely unlucky. During class, the teacher said the school's art festival was coming up soon, and each class had to prepare at least one performance. Since we wouldn't have time to participate in the art festival next semester as seniors, we should start preparing properly. After brainstorming, the entertainment committee decided on a poetry recital, which everyone could participate in. She also said, Jessica hurt her leg, but she can play the piano. How about we have Jessica accompany us? Everyone agreed, but I could see the unwillingness in Ivy's eyes. She can also play the piano. At that time, my mom wanted to cultivate my interests, so she enrolled me in a piano class. When Ivy found out, she pestered her mom to enroll her in one too. She ended up in the same class as me. She thought playing the piano was more sophisticated than reciting poetry and would make her the center of attention, so naturally, she didn't want me to steal the spotlight. But as my best friend, she would never say it out loud. She would only make sure I couldn't perform, then step in to save the day. What will she give me this time? The self-study class on Monday afternoon was used for our rehearsal. Ivy handed me a gift box. "Jessica, this is for you. It'll look perfect when you're accompanying." I opened it and saw it was a crystal hairband. Everyone who saw it remarked on how close we were. I accepted the hairband without any hesitation. After rehearsal, I went straight home since my leg injury exempted me from evening self-study. At 10 in the evening, as I was getting ready to sleep, a sudden commotion erupted from my neighbor's house. When I opened the door, all I saw was bloodstains on the floor across the hallway. The next day, Ivy didn't come to school. The teacher said she was hit on the head and arm by a flower pot that fell from the sky on her way home last night and was seriously injured. After school, I went to the hospital to see her. After all, I'm her best friend. If my best friend is hurt, shouldn't I go check on her? I hobbled on crutches to Ivy's hospital room door. Perhaps because she'd been so unlucky lately, she started questioning the virus system. I heard her yelling inside, "You useless thing. I clearly already successfully drained Jessica's luck. So why am I getting more and more unlucky? I almost died last night." Then, I don't know what the virus system said, but Ivy got even angrier. "You still want me to suck up to her? I've hated her since we were kids, and now you want me to suck up to her? I've endured enough. I can't take it anymore." After a while, she spoke again. This is the last time. I never expected she had disliked me since childhood. Was her acting too good, or was I too blind? In my past life, I didn't notice it at all. I suspect she might be about to unleash her ultimate move. I waited outside for a moment before raising my hand to knock. When she saw it was me at the door, she panicked instantly. When did you get here? I feigned confusion. Just now. What's wrong? Are you feeling unwell? Should I call a doctor? At this moment, Ivy's entire face was wrapped in bandages, with only her eyes, nose, and mouth exposed. One of her arms was in a sling, encased in a cast. Even her hand was fractured. She stared at me with wide eyes. Looking particularly terrifying, she said, "No need, I'm not feeling unwell," I said. "Don't stare like that. What if you accidentally reopen the wound?" She immediately relaxed her expression and looked at me, saying, "Jessica, I always feel like ever since you joined the English competition, I've been especially unlucky. Do you think someone is trying to harm me?" She stared intently into my eyes, as if trying to discern something from them. I wasn't the least bit afraid of her. If she hadn't tried to harm me, would she have ended up like this? She brought this upon herself, I said. "But Ivy, why would anyone want to harm you? You haven't done anything wrong, and besides, haven't all the things that happened to you recently been accidents? How could anyone manipulate that?" Her eyes darted around, but she said nothing more. Just as she had come to the hospital to visit me when I broke my leg and offered to take my place in the English competition, I now said to her, "Ivy, you're hurt so badly. Our class has unanimously agreed that you don't need to participate in the art festival performance. Focus on recovering. I'll wear the hairband you gave me while accompanying everyone, as if you're there with me. What goes around comes around." She wanted to say more, but I cut her off with, "Besides, your head is all wrapped in bandages. It would look really out of place on stage." Perhaps she realized how ridiculous and ugly she would look on stage with her head covered in gauze. She fell completely silent, her eyes brimming with resentment. After a week of rehearsals, the arts festival finally arrived. I was wearing a beautiful evening dress, with the hairband Ivy gave me on my head, playing the piano accompaniment under the shining lights on stage. My classmates recited the poetry collection, The Stray Birds, with deep emotion and expression. In the audience, Ivy watched us shine brightly on stage. Ivy only came to school on the day of the arts festival and never returned to class afterward. I know she's already returned home from the hospital, but the bandage on her head can't be removed yet. That day at the arts festival, other students kept staring at her, so she doesn't want to go to school and stays holed up at home all day. But every time I come home from school, she comes to see me, trying to increase her favorability with me, probably thinking that once it reaches 100%, she won't encounter such unlucky situations anymore. As a result, she spent a whole month trying to boost my favorability, not even using the ability that can only be activated once every 7 days. During this time, I noticed she kept pulling up the system panel to check, clearly growing very impatient. After she went to the hospital to remove the bandages and discovered the indelible scar left on her face, her entire demeanor became much gloomier. On the very day the school announced the list of students recommended for Harvard, I had the system modify my favorability rating toward Ivy. That day, after the school's recommendation list was released, I walked home with a smile all the way. I told my parents about this, and they laughed so hard that the neighbors could have reported them for noise disturbance. Right on schedule, Ivy arrived punctually as always. My mother happily welcomed her inside. She had a very good impression of Ivy. Seeing how happy my parents were, Ivy asked, "Auntie and Uncle, you look so happy. Did something good happen?" My mom didn't see any reason to hide it and told her directly, "Our Jessica got accepted into Harvard University with early admission." After saying that, she continued talking to herself, "This is such wonderful news. No way, I've got to go out and buy some groceries to celebrate. Hey Ivy, why don't you invite your parents over tonight for dinner? We owe you so much for taking care of Jessica when she broke her leg." My mom walked out the door while talking, completely oblivious to Ivy's jealous gaze. It took her a while to snap out of it. After my mom left, dazedly, she asked me, "Did you really get the early admission?" "Yeah, you can check the school's official website." She immediately took out her phone and logged onto the school's official website, only to see her name listed right below mine. Her hands trembled. I leaned over to look, and knowing what she had discovered, I fanned the flames once more. "What a shame, Ivy, you're right behind me. But don't worry, with your grades, you'll definitely make it to J City, and if you push a little harder, you might even get into Harvard. Then we can go to school together again." She forced a smile at me. then pulled up her system panel. Seeing that my favorability rating had reached 100, a glint flashed in her eyes. Looking at me, she said, "Jessica, I'm really happy for you getting into Harvard. I'll prepare a gift for you tomorrow, and you must accept it." Although I held no hope for her, her resolute attitude still shocked me. How strong must a person's jealousy be to drive them to harm their childhood best friend? However, since this was her own decision, I had no choice but to respect her choice. The next morning, I opened the system panel and asked the virus system about its current status. Law enforcement system, it has now absorbed a large amount of bad luck from you, and its energy has been significantly depleted. Just one more time, and I can retrieve it. After breakfast, Ivy came to find me and asked me to go to the library together. It was exactly the same as in the previous life. I gladly agreed. The library wasn't very far from our home, so we walked there. Ivy took out an identical brocade pouch from her bag, exactly like the one from my previous life, and said, "Jessica, this is for you. My mom specially went to the temple to get it for me, saying I might have attracted some bad luck recently, which is why I've been so unlucky. After she got this for me, I really stopped having bad luck." I declined. "This is from your mom. How can I accept it? What if you start having bad luck again after I take it?" She insisted firmly. "No, you must take it. The filth on me has been driven away, and since you're so close to me, what if it transfers to you?" She shoved the pouch into my hand. While calling her superstitious, I accepted it. The virus system asked her, "Are you sure you want to do this? Jessica only has a sliver of luck left. This time, it will drain her completely, and she will likely die," she said. "I'm sure." Then she kept looking around nervously along the way, her whole body trembling slightly. When crossing the street, she deliberately stayed a few steps behind me, only reaching the middle of the road after I had made it to the other side. At that moment, a white car suddenly rushed onto the crosswalk, its driver angrily honking the horn like mad. Ivy stood frozen in place as I watched the same white car from my previous life slam into her, sending her flying. The scene descended into chaos, with someone already calling the police. A transparent sphere emerged from Ivy's body, attempting to flee, but the law enforcement system immediately appeared. The sphere sensed the law enforcement system and tried to escape, but it was no match for the system's power now. Amidst a mechanical and eerie glow, the virus system vanished without a trace. "Host, my mission is complete, and I will soon depart from this world. To express my gratitude for your assistance, I can grant you one wish. Then let me and my family live safely and peacefully for the rest of our lives, free from illness and disaster." "No problem. Your wish will be granted. Well then, goodbye, Jessica." Ivy was rushed to the hospital and miraculously survived. Though she was left completely paralyzed, her parents even confronted me, demanding to know why I was fine while Ivy had gotten hurt when we went out together. Only after seeing the surveillance footage showing Ivy slowly walking to the back of the crowd while I had already crossed the street did they finally let me go. My parents were furious too. If it weren't for Ivy's condition, they would have definitely gotten into a physical fight with them. Later, they went to confront the person responsible for the accident and made a scene, only calming down after receiving a large sum of compensation money. After Ivy woke up, I went to the hospital to see her. She looked extremely agitated when she saw me, but being completely paralyzed, she couldn't move at all. Stammering, she said, "You've been reborn too, haven't you? What have you done to my system?" I followed the exact same steps as in my previous life, so why have I ended up like this? Why don't you just die? "My system, you stole my system, give it back to me." I asked her when she started hating me so much. She said she had always hated me, because we were neighbors. We attended the same kindergarten and went to the same school all the way through high school, yet no matter what, people around us always preferred me. And she felt like an invisible presence beside me. Every exam, I consistently outperformed her, and she believed that as long as I was there, no one would notice her. One day, the system suddenly approached her. When she heard it could drain others' luck, the first person she thought of was me. As I grew increasingly unlucky, she reaped more and more benefits. Even if I died because of it, no one would suspect her. Why wouldn't she take advantage of that? Even now, she shows not a shred of remorse. I told her that her current predicament was entirely of her own making. When my favorability toward her turned negative, the luck she drained from me would become misfortune. If she had just stopped siphoning my luck, none of this would have happened. She brought this upon herself. After I left the hospital, Ivy went crazy, constantly ranting about having a system, claiming she was the chosen one and that she should have been the one to get the guaranteed admission. Her parents found out that I went to the hospital to see Ivy, and they believed I was the one who triggered Ivy's breakdown. causing her to go crazy. Now they keep coming to my place to cause trouble every day. In the end, the police gave them a stern warning, which finally made them stop, but since we live right across from each other and see each other all the time, every encounter inevitably comes with a dose of sarcastic remarks. My parents finally saw their true colors and moved with me, renting out the old house. Later, I was admitted to Harvard University, where I made many new friends. During college, I started my own business and faced many challenges. But I overcame them all. By the time I graduated, I had achieved financial independence without relying on my family and became a well-known female entrepreneur. I saw Ivy again when I went out to eat with my business partners. She was in a wheelchair, emitting a foul odor. Her mother pushed her to the restaurant entrance and got into a physical fight with her father. Her parents only had her as their daughter. When their daughter became paralyzed, her mother quit her job to take care of her at home. Then, her father took the compensation money given by the driver and had an affair with a colleague, completely abandoning his daughter. Today, her father brought his affair partner here for a meal, and when her mother found out, she pushed their daughter here to make a scene. Her mother has to juggle taking care of her while also dealing with the trouble caused by her unfaithful father, so her care isn't as thorough. Her hair was a tangled mess, as if it hadn't been washed for days, and the clothes she wore seemed hastily thrown on in a rush to leave the house. People around her were pointing and whispering. She shouted, trying to get her mother to take her away from there, but her mother was too busy pulling the other woman's hair to even notice her. When she saw me, she showed no reaction, as if she had already forgotten who I was. In the end, the restaurant owners showed up and kicked them all out. I think, given her personality, living in disgrace and without dignity would be a far greater torment than death. She was disgracefully driven out of the restaurant, while I was politely invited in by the owner, as if we belonged to two different worlds. Now, she no longer needs to resent me for always overshadowing her. I've long since left her far behind, and she'll never have the chance to catch up. After hearing the stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.